The empty driveway mocked me through the window. Where my modified Honda Odyssey should have been, the van with the automatic ramp, hand controls, and wheelchair lock system, sat a gleaming Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Chrome pipes. Custom paint job. My brother Derek's name airbrushed on the fuel tank. "Where's my van?" My voice came out steadier than I felt, my hands gripping my wheelchair's rims until my knuckles went white. Mom didn't even look up from her coffee. "Oh, we traded it in yesterday. Derek's been dreaming about that bike since high school. The dealer gave us an even swap." An even swap. My $45,000 modified vehicle, the one I'd spent 3 years saving for, traded for a motorcycle I couldn't even ride. "That was my van," I said, my chest tightening. "My name is on the title." "How did you?" "We're co-signers, remember?" Dad walked in, tossing the bike keys to Derek, who'd just stumbled downstairs at 2 p.m. "You needed our credit to get the loan." "Derek's young once, Hannah. You can take the bus. They have those wheelchair lifts." The bus. In our rural Texas town where the bus came twice a day. Where the nearest stop was half a mile from our house. Where wheelchair accessible meant a broken lift that worked maybe half the time. "My daughter's graduation is tomorrow," I said, panic rising. "It's 2 hours away. How am I supposed to?" "Figure it out," Derek interrupted, examining his keys with a grin. "Maybe Emily will understand her mom's limitations for once." Limitations. He meant my paralysis. The car accident when I was 22 that took my legs but not my spirit. The same accident that everyone seemed to forget happened while I was driving Derek to his friend's house because he was too drunk to drive himself. 14 years later, and I was still paying for saving his life. "She's valedictorian," I whispered. "I promised I'd be there." "Send a card," Mom suggested. "She'll understand. Family makes sacrifices." Family makes sacrifices. I'd been making them since the accident. Moved back home because I couldn't afford accessible housing. Contributed my disability checks to household expenses. Used my settlement money for the family's bills when Dad lost his job. Bought that van not just for me, but to drive Mom to her appointments, take Derek to work when he lost his license for DUIs, transport Dad's tools for his side jobs. And now it was gone. Traded for chrome and leather and my brother's midlife crisis at 34. I spent that night calling every transportation service in 3 counties. Medical transport wanted $400 for a round trip. Uber didn't have wheelchair-accessible vehicles in our area. The bus route didn't go anywhere near Emily's university. My daughter called at 10 p.m. "Mom, you're still coming, right? I saved you a seat in the front row. They have a special wheelchair section." "Of course, baby," I lied, tears streaming down my face. Wouldn't miss it. I tried everything. Called cousins who were busy. Friends who were so sorry but. Even looked into renting a van, but without my own transportation to get to the rental place, I was stuck. The next morning, graduation day, I watched from my bedroom window as Derek revved his motorcycle. Mom taking pictures like he'd won a Nobel Prize instead of stolen his sister's independence. They drove off to show the bike to his friends, leaving me alone. I made one last desperate call to a medical transport company. They had a cancellation. For $600, money I didn't have, they could get me there. I emptied my emergency fund, the grocery money, the cash I'd hidden for Emily's graduation gift. The driver arrived late. The van broke down halfway there. By the time we reached the university, the ceremony was over. I found Emily afterward, still in her cap and gown, eyes red from crying. "You promised," she said quietly. Everyone else's parents were there. Even Dad came. My ex-husband, who'd left because the wheelchair thing was too much. Who'd missed every birthday, every school play, every soccer game. But he made it to graduation. I couldn't. The ride home was silent. Emily had driven herself, planning to go to her celebration dinner with friends. "I'll just tell them you were sick," she said. Not angry anymore. Just disappointed. Which was worse. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling. My parents were in the living room, Derek showing off motorcycle videos on his phone. Laughing. Celebrating. A family gathering I could hear, but not join because my wheelchair couldn't navigate the sunken living room they'd never bothered to modify. That's when I decided. They wanted to take my mobility? Fine. I'd take everything. What they didn't know was that I hadn't been idle these 14 years. Paralyzed from the waist down didn't mean paralyzed from the brain up. I'd been taking online courses. Freelance writing. Building a client base. Saving every penny I could hide from their constant family needs. More importantly, I'd been documenting every medical appointment I couldn't get to, every job interview I missed because I had no transportation, every sacrifice I made, every time they used my van while leaving me stranded. And the van, while they thought they'd traded it clean, I'd had a GPS tracker installed. Not for them, for my own safety, in case I broke down somewhere. But it recorded everything. Every trip. Every mile. Including the odometer reading that showed Derek had put 30,000 miles on my van in 2 years. The van I could barely use because they always needed it. I started with the legal route. Called the police to report a stolen vehicle. But they're co-signers, the officer said. Check the loan documents, I replied. They're co-signers for credit purposes only. The title is in my name alone. They had no legal right to trade it. The dealership had messed up. In their eagerness to sell Derek his dream bike, they'd overlooked the ownership details. The trade was fraudulent. Within 48 hours, the police were at our door. Derek's beautiful motorcycle was impounded as evidence. He was arrested for theft and fraud. My parents, as accomplices, were charged too. But I wasn't done. See, for years, my parents had been collecting money from the state. Caregiver stipends for helping their severely disabled daughter. $800 a month for the assistance they supposedly provided. Assistance like leaving me without transportation. Like refusing to install a ramp. Like treating me as a burden while cashing checks meant for my care. I had receipts. Bank records showing the money went to Derek's court fees, Mom's shopping sprees, Dad's boat. Meanwhile, I'd been paying for my own medical supplies, accessibility equipment, everything. The state fraud investigator was very interested. Then came the civil lawsuit. Not just for the van, but for 14 years of exploitation. Using my settlement money. Taking my disability checks. Claiming caregiver benefits while providing no care. My lawyer, hired with the book advance from the memoir I'd secretly written, deposed everyone. Including Emily. My daughter, my brilliant valedictorian daughter, testified about the years of watching her mother struggle. Missing events. Being trapped. Being treated as less than human by the people supposed to love me most. They stole more than a van, she said on the stand. They stole my mother's dignity. Her independence. Her life. The judge agreed. Criminal convictions came first. Derek got 2 years for felony theft. My parents got probation and massive fines for fraud. The dealership had to return my van and face their own legal troubles for the fraudulent trade. The civil judgment was devastating. 14 years of misused caregiver stipends, plus penalties. The settlement money they'd taken. Damages for emotional distress, lost opportunities, deliberate negligence. Total, $450,000. They didn't have it. But they had a house. Savings. Retirement accounts. Dad's boat. Mom's jewelry. Everything got liquidated. I bought my own house. Fully accessible. Ramp access to every room. Wide doorways. Roll-in shower. An attached garage where my van, my recovered, legally returned van, was safe. Emily moved in after graduating. We converted the basement into her art studio. She was working on a graphic novel about disability justice. The dedication read, "For Mom, who missed my graduation but made it to every battle that mattered." My parents? They lived in a trailer now. A rental because their credit was destroyed. Derek moved in with them after prison, his motorcycle dreams as dead as my legs. They tried to contact me once. Showed up at my book signing. Yes, the memoir became a bestseller. Family Wheelchair, a story of theft, survival, and justice, resonated with thousands of disabled people who'd faced similar exploitation. Security removed them. But not before I said, loud enough for the entire bookstore to hear. You traded my independence for a motorcycle. I traded your comfort for my freedom. Seems fair. The best part, the motorcycle Derek had wanted so badly, it was auctioned to pay part of their debt. I knew the buyer, another wheelchair user who'd followed my story. She had it crushed into a cube and displayed as art. The piece was titled Dreams Denied. It sat in the Disability Rights Museum next to a photo of my van. The one that took me to Emily's graduate school orientation, her white coat ceremony, her wedding. All the events I made it to because I had my independence back. They thought I could just take the bus. Instead, I took everything they valued more than my mobility. Their freedom, their comfort, their reputation, their security. The bus, it turns out, only goes one way. And they weren't on it. My van is in the garage now, 5 years later. Newer model, better modifications. Bought with my own money from book sales and speaking engagements. No co-signers. No one's name but mine. Sometimes I drive past their trailer on my way to Emily's house. Derek's outside, graying at 40, waiting for a bus that comes twice a day to take him to his minimum wage job. I don't stop. Don't wave. Don't acknowledge the man who once said I should understand my limitations. Now he understands his. Funny how that worked out. They had no idea what was coming next. Neither did I, sitting in that empty driveway, staring at a motorcycle I'd never ride. But desperation breeds creativity. And creativity, backed by justice, is unstoppable. He's young once, they said. Well, I'm free forever. I'll take that trade.